What is up, you guys? If you are watching this video, it probably means you are somewhat semi-interested in going on a missions trip to Zambia, Africa with the organization Trail Missions. And you are looking for some more information on what a trip looks like. And we're stoked that you are willing and even interested in wanting to be on one. And I promise you before everything else, this is going to be a trip that is worth it. Like, I don't know. You'll hear it out. There's just a lot here. I've been doing this for a while now, and I'm very excited about this organization. I'll promise you that this is very different from most mission trip organizations that you've probably heard of before. So what I would say first is that we have a couple different videos that I'm going to link down below in this video that are ones that I've made in the past for Trail Missions organization. So my name, first off, is Jeremy. Most know me as Remy. And I'm the missions director for Trail Missions here in Arizona, which means that I am responsible for helping teams get together. Most of the time I lead a trip, but I organize everything and make sure that you guys are taken care of when it comes to going to a missions trip with them. And so if you have questions or anything, I'm usually going to be the guy. We're going to have some additional help this year, but we're going to always be there for you guys if you ever need anything. So do not hesitate to reach out if you have questions. I'll make sure to attach my contact information down below as well, so you guys can reach out to me in any regard that you desire. But what I was going to say is check out those videos down below, because that's going to give you visually a better idea of what these trips look like. And it's going to save me the talk of trying to explain exactly what Trail Missions does. And this would be a follow-up video. So maybe go watch those videos and then come back, and then we'll talk about basically what the whole process looks like. So if you haven't watched the videos, go watch them now, and then come back to this point in the video after you've watched it. And boom, you watch the videos. Hope you guys loved them. And I'm excited for more that we're going to release in the future with them as well. But basically, what a trip looks like with Trail Missions and going on a missions trip is that we typically do trips for about 16 days. It's usually 16 to 17 days. And I believe about 4 of that is what we accommodate for travel. Going there, I think it's about 2 days to get there. Might be about 2.5 because we have a 9-hour jump there. Coming back, it's usually about a 1.5 days as well. So that's kind of how we accommodate for that. And when we go on a trip, we'll all typically meet up here in Phoenix. If you're from out of town or you're from out of state, we'll typically have you fly separately to meet up with us. Usually there's usually one more state we fly into before we fly out of the country. And so we'll usually send you guys to meet us there. Last year it was in Chicago. The year before that it was New York. And we'll have you guys meet with us there. And then from there we'll head together to over across the waters to make it to Zambia. And when we leave, we'll leave in Phoenix, make it to there. And then when we arrive in Zambia, we arrive in what is known as one of their like main towns. It's called Livingstone. And if you remember the falls in the second video, which is my 2019 video I did for Trail Missions, those drone shots in the beginning are actually from Victoria Falls, which is based in Livingstone. And it's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It's a beautiful place. And it's actually in the back, literally like the backyard of the hotel we stay at. So you could literally walk to it. It's pretty awesome. But we will land in Livingstone. Jack and Amber will usually be there. Sometimes Amber's not there. It doesn't really matter. Jack will be there at least, who is one of the founders of the organization. And he'll be there to pick us up. And he will take us to grab some food, run some errands, grab some groceries, just get ourselves some snacks and stuff. And then we're going to head all the way out to the base camp, which distance-wise, it really is about like a 2-hour trip if you were to drive it here in like Phoenix. But over there, they have so many potholes that it's really hard for you to drive it in a faster time frame. Now, if we have cars, that we have smaller groups and we have enough vehicles, we'll take cars and the trip is much faster. But if you notice in the videos, there's this giant military-grade cargo truck that is, it's called the Gladiator, and they took everything out of the back seats or out of the back of the truck and they put in bus seats in it that face each other. And so it's kind of fun. It's a really cool experience, but we'll take that when we don't do the vehicles. And that's definitely a fun time, but also it's like 6 to 8 hours to the base camp from there. So it's not quite over when you land in Livingstone, but I promise you, it is worth it, because this base camp is beautiful. If you remember in the 2019 video, we're right along the Zambezi River. The Ngonye Falls is nearby, though sometimes we visit. And the base camp, like Jack and Amber have done a really good job over the past few years of really renovating and adding more living spaces that are a lot more comfortable for people. So there's always hot showers. They have tile on the floor, so you're not like on sand. They have bathrooms, of course, but on top of that, they also have Wi-Fi. So if you need to connect with relatives or with your loved ones back home, you can do that. We obviously encourage you to be unplugged during the trip. So outside of those connections, we really try to push for us not to be on like social media and those kind of things, to really like take in the experience of what we're doing, because you can be on your phone all the time when you're back here. And also it runs the Wi-Fi out really fast because it only has a limited amount of data. But nonetheless, you have Wi-Fi, you have the things that are main essentials that we really desire here in America, and Jack and Amber do a really good job of making it really comfortable for us. Now, we'll be there for about a day, maybe about 2, depends on the scheduling for everything, but it's usually just time to acclimate. I wouldn't say acclimate, but just get used to the time change, because it is 9 hours ahead there. And after you've been traveling for 2.5 days, you don't want to do anything else. So you typically relax, hang out. We'll do like an orientation. Jack and Amber will walk us through basically what's going to go down for the rest of the trip. And then you get to meet the pastors, you get to meet the people on the staff. And then we get to hang out, we'll probably do some worship, and just kind of enjoy a day of relaxation before we get into it. Then after that, we'll head to the bush. Now, the bush, for those of you who do not know, the bush is basically the term for the rural parts of Zambia, or just of Africa in general. I think almost every other country in Africa also calls it the bush. It's basically just, I wouldn't say the wild. I mean, it is the wild, but anywhere there's civilization, they'll kill the animals there for food. So animals don't really hang around there. They're usually just in game drives. But it's these outskirts, it's outside of the cities area. It would be like what we have as suburbs, but a lot less, obviously, like established. And so Jack and Amber are based in the Western Province because they felt a calling to leave the big cities in Livingston and go to the Western Province, where the government doesn't go because it's too far out from everyone to reach them. And on top of that, they don't have roads for half the time. I mean, like, they have some roads there with oxen carts that have kind of like put in like roads to the sand, but sometimes you kind of have to carve your own path. And so it's a really cool experience, but the bush is basically like where you're going to be tested the most. And it's really awesome because here in America, you don't really get pushed a lot with uncomfortability and learning what it's like to live outside of the comfort of what we've been so used to growing up. And it definitely will push limits, but it grows you a lot, and we have such a fun time doing it. And so we'll drive out there, we'll take a few vehicles, we'll pack up, and when we go into the bush, we obviously, well, not obviously, but just to clarify, we always have our pastors who are so awesome. I cannot wait for you guys to meet them if you're going to come on a trip. But they will always go out to the villages prior to us going, and they will seek permission from the headmaster of the village if we're allowed to come and stay with them. So we don't kind of intrude on people and be like, yo, what's up? Bunch of white people, whatever, coming from America to preach to you guys. And I'm not claiming to like only white people go on this trip, but you know what I mean. So we always make sure to get permission from the headmaster first so that they know that we're coming. And literally, I believe 99% of the time, they're extremely welcoming and they're very excited for us. So if you saw my last video that we just did, that was probably one of the coolest experiences we've had with them. They're not a very emotional country as like we are, and so they don't show a lot of those things like excitement, but they were very excited to see us. And so getting to celebrate coming into the village with them and dance with them was a super awesome time. And so we'll go meet up with them in the base area of like their village. They will give us a section to like branch off from to set up camp. And so we'll pitch up our tents and we'll get firewood going for us to kind of be ready to go with. Some of us will hang out with the kids there. The girls love to go and play with the kiddos and run around and dance and sing. And the guys will typically gather like firewood and make sure that everything's set up with like the bathrooms. And like we do set up like shower stations. It's not your traditional shower, but if you want like hot water in the bush to like clean off, it's actually amazing when you do. It's just not going to be obviously a beautiful shower head above you. And so we'll set up. Everything will look great, and then we will announce to the village that we're going to do a bonfire for the night. And the bonfires are kind of like the big hit in the bush when we go to these villages because, one, it's their winter. It's not the summertime like it is for us. And so it gets cold at night, and so fires are like, they gravitate towards those immediately, and they love to come and dance and to celebrate and have fun. And so what we'll do is we'll have dance competitions, we'll hang out, we'll sing some worship songs, and then we'll get into kind of like the session for the night of just preaching and bringing the gospel of Jesus Christ to these people, because these people don't know about Jesus. Most of them don't. And if they do, when they say they might know something, you always ask them like, okay, what do you know? They really don't know a whole lot. And so we'll have this bonfire. It'll be super awesome, and it'll get us really introduced with the culture there and with the village and just kind of the vibe of what they're like, and get to meet some of them. And what we'll do is we'll preach the gospel message, which is straight up Jesus Christ, right? And then we'll share some testimonies. We'll have some people share their testimonies. We'll have someone come up and do an altar call to who wants to receive Christ and lead them through a prayer of salvation. And then we'll have someone usually come up after kind of explaining like what does it look like now that we have received the Holy Spirit? What does it mean to be a Christian now? And from there, we'll turn into a time of prayer, and we are huge on believing that the gifts of healing still happen to this day, that miracles still happen, and that they weren't seized by the apostles after, of course, the book of Acts. And so we witness a lot of healings. You can hear testimonies all day long about it. I've seen some pretty cool ones myself, and it's definitely encouraged me in my walk with God. But also it's very spiritual there, like I was saying, and they actually understand the spiritual realm because they have a lot of witch doctors there. They have a lot of demonic presence. And so when we come there and we talk about the light side of things, and it kind of sounds like a weird illustration of like join the dark side, light side, this whole like Star Wars kind of thing, but like legitimately like they understand the dark spiritual realm of things because they have witch doctors they go to for healing. A lot of them experience demons. Some of them have bad dreams, a lot of kind of stuff that we can go a lot more into. And we do when we go through our meetings, but they understand that. And so when we bring the good news that there is a whole nother side to this, that like there is a good God that desires to have a relationship with us and has sent his son to die for us on the cross so we may have eternal life, it clicks with them. And so it's really cool because you get to see the fruits of your labor pretty quickly. It's not like a place where you just kind of reach out, hope that maybe you reach someone, and then later on in life, maybe you hear something about it. It's like you get to see firsthand people receiving Christ in their life and then praying over them and then maybe even receiving healing. And it's really, really encouraging and awesome. And so that's what that kind of looks like. That's kind of like the whole feel of ministry that we do while we're there. And so the bonfire one, we'll hit the hay, we'll wake up the next morning, and we'll split up our teams into smaller groups. And those groups will typically have some cleaning duties, some cooking duties, some water duty, fire, like getting like wood for firewood and stuff. Like we'll have different groups, but then after we settle in from the morning, have some breakfast, which by the way, Amber or Belita, who usually runs cooking when we're in the bush, they're phenomenal cooks, and they make sure that like you really do eat good while you're in there. And if you also have any allergies or you're glycemic or you're dairy free or any of those kind of things, they accommodate really well for that too. So we just need to communicate if that's the case. But pretty much we will have breakfast, and then we'll branch off with pastors, translators, and we will go walk to villages nearby, and we'll do that for about half of the day. Now these pastors are so good at what they do, and they're so awesome and fun. I promise you're gonna love them, and they're really gonna push you and humble you because they exemplify servanthood better than anyone I've ever experienced in my life. And every time I go, it always reminds me how selfish I really am, and really pushes me to humble myself and to serve others more. And so they're super awesome. They're very fun. They speak English very well, but they also translate into the language very well. And so for those who are concerned that like you have to get on stage and preach this message and be all, big words and say all the stuff, you don't have to worry about that, because for one, you have a pastor that's going to help you translate so they can help guide you if anything goes, off or you don't know what to say. But also you have that period of time where when they're translating, they don't really, while they're saying it, you have the time to either collect your thoughts, or if you've written it down, you can just share it off. Now, the idea is not to just read off a piece of paper and let them translate. The idea is to help you get comfortable with it, but then learn how to do without it. Because the idea is not just to train you how to share the gospel with people in Zambia, but how to do it when you come back home as well. Because we don't really do that a whole lot here. So that's really encouraging. So we'll go out, we'll do that with our teams. You get a bond with them, get to know your pastor a little bit more and your translator. And then after you've reached as many villages as you typically can until about 3 in the afternoon or so, you'll head back to the base camp or to like our main area where we're camping out at the campsite. We'll hang out, we'll have dinner, and then we'll also do another bonfire. And so you usually invite them after you've gone to their village saying, hey, come tonight to our bonfire. It's going to be an amazing time. And so they'll typically do that, and we'll do that for a few days. And in between that, we usually do a soccer game with them. We usually always lose, but there's still hope for the future. And then we also, as well, will sometimes share a village meal with them. It just depends on the time frame that we have. And on top of that, we love to do baptisms by the end of the week. It just depends on if we have water available. If not, we usually just dig a hole and throw a tarp in it, like you saw in our 2019 video. So we just try to make it happen for people if they really truly want to get baptized. And that's super awesome. And then we'll do that for a few days. And sometimes, depending on the size of the village, we're either there for only a couple days of like full days plus the 2 travel days, or we'll be there for a much longer time. And the idea is that we spend about a week in total in the bush trying to reach as many people as possible. We'll do that, and after we've kind of concluded that segment of the trip, we'll usually come back to the base camp, and depending on the time frame, if we have an extra day or not, sometimes we like to go to visit the preschool that Trail Missions has started. We'll either go check out Angonia Falls nearby, or we'll just spend time on the base camp hanging out. And we'll recap everything we've experienced. We'll share in what we thought or what we've learned and how we've been encouraged and how we've grown. And then from there, we'll head back to Livingston and we'll do all the fun touristy things that you've probably seen in the videos. So Victoria Falls, obviously, is one of the 7 wonders, natural wonders of the world. You get to experience that. You get to stay at a really nice, it's considered a 3-star hotel, feels like a 5-star. They have an amazing buffet. They have really nice high-pressured showers, so you get all the bush out of you. And then we'll walk with lions. We'll ride an elephant. Sometimes you guys will walk with cheetahs. And then on top of that, if depending on the circumstances of restrictions and travel, we'll go over to Botswana where they have a huge safari. And that's where you really get to experience the whole Madagascar, look over the field and just see animals all over the place. That's really cool. But we cannot guarantee that just because right now it's weird with COVID stuff. But hopefully if we can, it's super awesome to experience. If not, there is a safari in Zambia that we can do. It's just not as cool, but you still get to see usually giraffes and elephants and of the not. So with that being said, that's kind of the end of that trip. And then when we leave, we'll head out from Livingston and we'll travel for a couple of days and then we'll land back in your home state. If you're in Arizona or if you're from somewhere else, we usually branch off once we get back into the US. And that's basically what a trip looks like. There's obviously a lot more that goes into it, but I want to make it as quick and short as possible for you to just kind of get the grasp of it. And then just to answer a few questions for you guys that you typically have, I'm going to run through those. And if you want to learn more and get engaged with us and trying to get on a trip, we'll have a link down below where you can apply, where you can send an email. You can figure out what trip you want to be on. We'll get you connected to a leader. Or if you just want to stay in the loop and you're still trying to figure it out, then that's absolutely okay too. But the main thing that people obviously wonder is like price. What is this going to cost? So Trail Missions is super awesome and different from a lot of other organizations where they only ask for $1,000 for their portion of the trip. And then everything outside of that is the flight cost. And then it is the like adventure touristy stuff, which is $500 from us that we ask for all of those things. So in total, $1,000 average, or $1,000 typically for the trip. Flights can range between anywhere from $1,300 to about $1,700, $1,800. It also can get outside of that range. It really depends on a lot of variables. The sooner we have a team committed, the faster we can reserve flights, which usually means that they're a lot cheaper. Limited options also with COVID restrictions can also mean it's a little bit different, so we can't guarantee anything, but we're basically just paying the flight cost on top of Trail Missions, and then all of the fun touristy things, you can either pay that out of pocket, or if you want to fundraise that, you can also do that as well. And we fundraise as a team. We try to make sure that there's opportunities for you guys to be involved and to fundraise with those that you're on your team with. We don't want to set you up for failure, so we have opportunities for you to do that. One of them being our fund run, which is what is the best one of the year that we do. The other one that we typically do is some kind of worship night. And then we also do smaller ones as well. Like we're going to potentially be doing t-shirts this year where you can sell t-shirts with a company that I actually run called Ask Us Why. We're going to have like garage sales, which do really well, car washes. You can sell anything wholesale on campus. We'll have a lot of ideas for you guys, but we make sure you're taken care of, and there's a lot of ways. So don't stress the finances of like, I don't have $3,000 to drop out of my pocket for this. It's like we work as well as we can with you guys about it, and we want to make sure that you're taken care of. So that's kind of that main thing. As far as health goes and restrictions, one, you don't have to have the COVID vaccine for it. They recommend that you have, or I think they tend to require you have your Hep B and tetanus, but those are things that I believe you had to have in order to get into GCU or to any college or university, I believe, for that matter. And I think most of us have that anyways. But then outside of that, the only other thing that you could do is malaria medication. So because it's the winter time, we don't really have an issue with malaria. Mosquitoes don't really carry it. I didn't take malaria pills this last year and I got bit probably, no joke, 75 times and I did not receive malaria. Now, in the case you do receive malaria, they have the medication and the cure over there. And on top of that, the medication you take from here in Arizona, or not in Arizona, just wherever you take from here, doesn't actually guarantee that you can't get it. It just lessens the effects of malaria. So it's not necessarily that you're not going to get malaria if you take those pills. It's more that it helps in fighting it so that it takes longer for symptoms to come up and that you can get the cure or whatever, fight it off a lot faster. But if you want to do that, you can as well, but it is optional. It is not something that's mandatory by us. And as far as safety goes, which is usually more of a question for parents, Zambia is one of the safest countries out there. I promise you, it'd be hard to find another country as peaceful as Zambia. They've never been in a world war, never been in any kind of war, never in a civil war. And on top of that, the people are so friendly there. They actually get hostile if you won't say hi back. It's weird. They'll be like, yo, hello, how are you? I want to get to know you better. They're super awesome. They're very friendly people, very relational. But you don't have to worry about military government takeover. Apparently they actually just elected a new president who Jack Matutwa is very excited about because he's apparently a really good guy and is going to really help out with the economy. And so I think that as far as safety goes for this whole trip, nothing to worry about. We don't even land in another country where we would leave out of the airport, potentially London if that were the case, but obviously with COVID things are a lot different. And even at that point, there's nothing that you should be concerned about as far as your safety goes. Being out in the Western Province where we're by no one, there's no threats or anything. There's no wild animals lurking in the bush for us to get attacked by or anything. Never had an issue like that. We're very well taken care of. Jack is literally known throughout the whole country, and so he takes care of anything when we do get stopped by police at checkpoints and stuff, but we've never had issues in the past. It's just making sure you have your documentation and your passport and that kind of stuff. We have obviously a lot more that we can cover, but I believe that covers the basics of what you're looking for. If you guys do have more questions, I'm sure I missed some stuff. There's a lot more that you can go into with this, but I just wanted to lay the floor out for what the basics look like for one of these trips. And if you are interested in wanting to go on these or want to commit to one, then I encourage you to do that. We're having it set up where, and this is obviously probably going to be a video that we use every year, so I can't guarantee that this is the situation at the moment, but for this year, specifically 2021, if you sign up within the first week, which is currently this week until, oh my gosh, I had the date set up here a second ago, from 12/3 to 12/10, it's only $800 for Jack and Amber. So you get $200 off, and then it goes up $100 each week until final cost beyond January 1st is $1,200. So the idea is make a decision quicker than later. You don't need to really sit on this and pray for way too long. I think that God has called all of us to share the gospel and to reach all nations, as we understand from Matthew 28, the Great Commission. But even more than that, this is only really 2 weeks, and maybe as far as meetings go, we only do 4 meetings, so it's not that crazy of a commitment. And so I just want to encourage you guys that if that's the case for you guys, pray about it, yes, absolutely. But if you have the opportunity to do this, they're not going to come by very often, so take advantage when you can. So to sign up for a trip, just reach out to us, go and apply online, and we'll make sure that we get you guys the cost based off of when you applied. If you have more questions, reach out to us, but we're very, very excited for this year's trips and for every year following this. If you want to be a part of it, please reach out. You won't regret it. And with that being said, reach out if you have any other questions. And yeah. Thanks guys for watching this video. Make sure you guys watch the other videos and follow along on our Instagram at Trail Missions to just stay up to date with everything we're doing. Thank you guys so much. Love you brothers and sisters. God bless. Peace out.